So there's a lot of people who offered to help me that just weren't understanding of the resources that I had. Like Miss Peaches, who said that she would go in with me to make a report. I went over there repeatedly. It cost me money every time I went over to her place. And every time I went over there, it was basically getting blown off so that she could play her video games, or we'd have a conversation where she got to do most of the talking, telling me how to think and how to feel. That's pretty fucked up. But the thing is, I believed her because she kept on saying that she was going to. Now then there's Brenda Dickinson's house. That's her house right there. She told me I could use her mailbox. So I did. And she just didn't answer her fucking door. Now meanwhile, I was living in Sydney at the time, so I got to come all the way to Chapel to do that, and the paperwork that I was waiting on was extremely important. Now, between admitting that she didn't answer her door, which was obviously not my fault nor my decision, she was a bitch. Well, I don't have to give you a reason. Shit, lady. The courts need a reason. The fact is, I depended on you to keep your word and you didn't do it. Same thing with Peaches. And then when I'm frustrated after months and months and months of these people saying, I'm gonna, and I'm having all of my money taken, I literally cannot take care of myself. And these people want me to continue jumping through hoops for empty promises. People like Katie Cahill. People like Shannon Alvarado. I hear ya. Yep, it's Chapel, Nebraska. It's 8 o'clock something at night. There's dogs out and about running around without a leash. Barking at every car that drives by. Now the pathetic thing is that I still love these people. They're people I care about very much. The thing that pisses me off is that all of these people had reasons that they didn't keep their word. If those reasons are valid, if those reasons are the truth, then you should have no problems telling that to the police. You should have zero problems saying, hey, I wanted to help him, but I had my own court shit going on. Or I wanted to help him, but I didn't have the money. Or I wanted to help him, but I got to go to work to make sure my family is fed. That last one is a very good reason. But instead, the police claimed that no one would help me probably because of how I act. And that is simply not the truth. The fact is, the police wouldn't listen to anyone because I have been outspoken about missing people, about how foster children are treated, because I grew up in foster care, and how they're treated as adults. There's lots of people with families want to tell me how wrong I am, but they have families, so they're wrong, because they don't have to live it. I'm not able to work, and that's something that's difficult to explain to a bunch of lazy bastards, and I do mean lazy. See, I worked actual work, actual labor. And I did so for about as cheap as you can get manual labor for. I mean, hell, lumping for a tree cutter for 6 years for $7.25 to $7.50 an hour. shit, that ain't nothing at all. Now, you can try to make a living on that, but it's probably not going to happen. Now, because of the slander against me and the fact that I was never allowed to defend myself, never allowed to show evidence, that's pretty pathetic. Because it's been 2 years since Natalie died, and to this day I've still never been allowed to make an actual police report. Never been taken seriously. Now, the one time that somebody actually went in with me instead of bullshitting me, that was Molly Smith. And what happened because Molly Smith went in with me? Oh, here's the Martindale's house. Beautiful. That vehicle right there belongs to Officer William Barr, former Officer William Barr. Let's get up close and take a good look at it. Colorado license plate 747-V0S. That's the officer that told me that the Craigslist post from Natalie Bollinger was real. I don't personally like the man. He proved himself not to be the man that he pretended to be. But then again, he's a cop. Now, there's a few videos on the internet where people went around the United States trying to make a report against the police. And in 90% of those cases, the police threatened to arrest them. In at least 5 of those instances that I saw, they arrested the person who was there to get a report written up against the police, and because they were with the media, their media counterparts came in and rescued their ass. See, that's why you need somebody there with you, because if nobody is there with you, they will victimize you. They can do whatever they want to you, and there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. They didn't investigate any of the things that I went in there to speak to them about with Molly. And the fact is, at this point, it would take somebody a good solid 2 to 3 weeks of just sitting with me and looking through this evidence to understand the kind of hell that I've gone through. Chapel, Nebraska is a shitty place. It's one of them places where they blame everything on blacks and Mexicans, and there aren't any. Good evening.
Keith Rapp. Shorty.
Hello. Yeah, that's Chapel for you. People know me here as Schwartzy. My last name is Schwartz, so it makes sense. Although I prefer to be called Sean, because my name is Sean. I'm not real proud of my family, not on my mom's side or my dad's side. It's hard to be when there's such selfish people. And my dad, he could have done something. He and my mom both. Then again, I wouldn't expect him to. I left my dad's house when I was 15 because he decided that it was alright to beat me for I think it was the 3rd time that he beat me for an F&TE that I left there. And my mom, that was a big fucked up situation with her and Doug Cowden and my older brother Eric ripping off all of my money to go buy marijuana and cocaine. Doug did the cocaine with my mom, and that marijuana went to Dennis and Brenda Dickinson, who were selling marijuana at the time. I never got my money back. I never got the vehicle that money was supposed to buy. But because there's nobody actually in my corner, people are allowed to do this to me. Like Ken and Leah being allowed to steal my money. See, I had a great caseworker here in Nebraska. Her name was Tamara, and she knew her job. She also understood autism, and as a result, she was able to be a big help. But when she quit her job, that kind of stuck me in a position where I needed the help but wasn't getting it. And I was spending all my money going back and forth to appointments to see my therapist. The thing is, because of the monetary situation created by the assault by Officer Waylon Lolatai right after Natalie disappeared, I haven't been able to go to those meetings because of all of the long, drawn-out court dates that I was never allowed to show evidence in, never allowed to speak on my own behalf. Well, that ate up all of my money month after month after month after month. And all these people who said they would go in with me to make a report didn't, month after month after month after month. Like, hey, I need to get the ball rolling. If you're going to say that you're going to help me, you need to fucking get on it. See, if you care about somebody, you make the time. But did these people actually make the time to go in with me to talk to the police? Now, there's a lot of people who did a lot of good for me. They really did. Miss Peaches did a lot of good for me. The problem is she wasted my time. Without her going in with me to force the police to take a report, it wasn't going to happen. You have to go in together to get that to happen. I went in by myself, and the police refused to take a report from me. Miss Peaches went in by herself, and the police refused to take a report from her. Erin Cockerham called by herself, and they blew her off as well. These officers kept on telling people that I have to go in, but then when I'd go in, well, look what happened. They literally never looked at the evidence. They kept on putting me on suicide watch so that they didn't have to. Obviously, I still want my life to be over. Obviously, I'm still trying to do some good for the world because that's who I am. But the fact is, I've been through 3 years of threats, harassment, and violence. 3 years of threats, harassment, and violence because police didn't want to do their jobs. You can see this on the reservations. You can see this when it comes to the poor. But those of you in houses with families, well, you get something different. You don't get this complete and total harassment. Now, I'm not physically assaulted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's nice, but at the same time, I cannot physically take care of myself. I cannot financially take care of myself. That's because I am disabled. And the fact that the police and the courts took advantage of my disabilities to get away with breaking the law is pathetic. The fact that the Bollinger family did all of the fucked up shit that they did to each other and then they did it to me is fucked up. However, unlike Alicia and Natalie Bollinger, Ted Bollinger never sexually assaulted me. See, that's the thing. People think I'm going to shut up. I'm not. I'm going to say these people's names every single day. These officers, these people who promised to help, and these people who played victim. The things that the Bollinger family pulled and their friends like Adam Klein, Dalton Crawford, that Braxton feller. Those are completely wrong. And then the police pretending like they're going to take a report from me. Yeah, I'd like to believe that, but I literally need someone to go in with me because they haven't. I need to record it because they pull shady shit when it's not being recorded. They did everything in their power to prevent me from being able to file a report against them. You ever try to file a report against a police officer online? You don't have that option. When you're in the jails, the cops know who they can fuck with and who they can't. If you have somebody spending $200 on commissary, yeah, that's probably not someone the cops are going to fuck with because they might have a lawyer, might have the money for a lawyer. But when you got somebody who doesn't even have money for the telephone, somebody who's drawing pictures for a ramen packet, yeah, that's somebody you can do whatever you want to. And that's not okay. Miss Peaches didn't like a video I made where I said she made zero effort. Well, the fact is, she did make zero effort. When it came to writing that police report, she never did. She claimed that she would and just never did. When it came to going in with me to talk to the police at a time when the police would actually do so, instead of 4 o'clock in the evening, she just never did. Now, she was trying to help me to get set up with seeing a therapist there, and that was wonderful of her to do. But without her statements, that documentation that I could take into the courtroom, I ended up getting railroaded, and she didn't care. Not even a little bit. Without Brenda Dickinson admitting that she didn't answer her door, well, that information was relevant. Mandy Hughes should have written a report about how the police wouldn't do their jobs. Same thing with Aaron Cockerham. All of these people who were pissed off that I recorded them, they can stay pissed off because they didn't have their families taken from them. They didn't have their livelihoods taken away. They didn't have their roofs taken away. They aren't stuck in public after having their name slandered to the point that people are literally assaulting them, literally threatening their lives. You guys want to be pissed off that I speak out? That's fine. That's not going to stop me from speaking out. I don't want these things happening to others. I've been speaking out about the foster care system since I was a child in Colorado in the 1980s. The things that happened to me continue to happen to many other people. You're damn right I'm going to speak out. When bad things happen to a black person who lives in a house, Black Lives Matter gives a shit. If it's a homeless black person, Black Lives Matter doesn't give two fucks. When there's a missing person on the reservation, the Native community comes together. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to the fact that statistically, women are not the only people disappearing up there. Men and children are disappearing on these reservations at the same rate as these women. So don't try playing it off like it's only women being victimized. Only women can be victims. Because that's not the case. and we go and we see the LGBT community. And as somebody who lived in Boulder, there's a lot of homeless people that are, well, what we term alternate lifestyle. But it's not a lifestyle. In most cases, it's just their sexual preference. But when something happens to one of those people who's homeless, the LGBT community doesn't come together like they do when it's somebody who's got a nice car and a nice house and is killed for being alternate lifestyle. This is the America we live in, folks. Miss Peaches, if she actually gave a shit about me, she would still talk to me. She would pretend I was a human being. She would make that report and she would speak out publicly instead of just texting it to me like she was. Now, me and Miss Peaches had a lot of conversations, and I recorded a few of them. There were some of them that were just too personal to post. Same thing with Mandy Hughes. Some of the things that she had to say are just too personal to post. Same thing with Shannon Alvarado. Some of the things that she had to say were just too personal to post. And that sucks, because those were all conversations where these people literally said everything that I needed them to say in order to get an honest court date. But because of their personal information and the fact that their name was attached to it, I didn't feel comfortable putting it on the internet. The other point to be made is that if the police would do their goddamn jobs, I wouldn't have ever had to go to the internet. If the police had had body cameras on at all times while interacting with me, this would have been a completely different outcome, because they would have either A, tried to do their jobs as they're supposed to, or B, they'd all be in prison right now. Fuck the United States.